All right, y'all. So, Philip Carter here, 40 Watt Podcast. Today, I'm going to give you my thoughts after I've been living with the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson Firebird. I've had this guitar for a little over a month or so, and you know, I wanted to put it through its paces, give it a try, look at the features, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. I'm going to try not to make this video too terribly long. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of all of my dad blues licks, only some of them. I'm going to try to play something a little more ambient-ish so you get an idea of what it does in a couple of different arenas. I'm not a great ambient player, but I will turn on a bunch of delay and a bunch of reverb and see if I can create something that resembles ambient playing. So, just a couple of minutes of talking here at the top. I'm gonna talk about the features. So this is a Firebird. It is like I played this at a shop next to a 2015 Gibson Firebird Studio, which I think is the best Gibson analog to this guitar. Has a similar headstock. It does have the reverse headstock. It does have regular Grover style tuners. So that means that it doesn't have the banjo tuners that a traditional Firebird would. I actually like that. I think that's a plus. The banjo tuners are super heavy. I don't like how they operate. I just want a regular tuner. The reverse does throw me off a little bit in the tuning, but that's a me problem. That may not be a you problem. It is a 9-piece body that is legitimately neck through the guitar. So there is a 9-piece neck and it starts from the tip of the headstock and it goes to the end of the body, and it is one solid piece. Go check out Trogley's video. I'm going to try to link it below, where he takes off the truss rod cover, he takes out the pickups, and he checks it to see if you can still see the lines on the body. Sure enough, they're still there. It's not some weird set neck design that just hides the heel. And then it's got wings. So this is a mahogany and walnut 9-ply body, just like what traditional Firebird would be. It does have an Indian Laurel fretboard, which is the stand-in for rosewood. I haven't noticed a big problem with it. I do feel like it's a little drier than rosewood normally is, but that may just be me. I may be making it up in my head. So the pickups are Epiphone's Pro Buckers, I think is what they call them. They're mini humbuckers. They're not traditional Firebird pickups. So if you're into this guitar and you're expecting you're expecting Firebird pickups, you're going to be sorely mistaken. You're not going to get that out of this guitar. But what you are going to get is a stellar guitar for under $600. Something of note, typical Firebirds, the originals, had this strap button here on the shoulder. Well, most players found that produced a lot of neck dive because of how far down the body you ended up with the holding point of the strap. So Epiphone has already done what most people did anyway, and they have installed the strap peg at the heel. Now, that is not the original strap peg. I put strap locks on it because I put strap locks on every guitar that I that I decide to keep. Words are hard, y'all. Any guitar that I decide that I think I'm going to keep, I put strap locks on it. So I waited a little while, and I put strap locks on this guitar because it's not going anywhere. So in the store, I went down to play it. My buddy brought his 2015 Firebird Studio. We wanted to compare the two. The playability on it was trash. Didn't like it. It was horrible. So I ended up asking them, luckily I know the guys in the shop, I asked them, hey guys, can we put the strings that I use on it? I'll pay for the strings. And let's get a little bit of a setup on it and put it on the bench. We'll set it up, and then let's see how it plays. And it was a world of difference, and I knew I had to walk out the door with it. So since then, I've done a little more tweaking to the setup. I had to do some significant tweaking to the intonation, and I still don't think it's perfect. So if it's not quite there for some of y'all with perfect pitch, I'm real sorry. Or with really great relative pitch, you have to forgive me. But once I got that dialed in, and I got the height on the bridge right, I tweaked it again today just because, I let it settle in a little with the new setup. I needed to tweak it just a little more. I'd gotten it a little too low, just a touch too low. And it was buzzing just a tiny bit. This guitar weighs in at about a little under 7.5 pounds. which was not something I expected out of a Firebird. I did not know that that was the weight of a Firebird. Apparently, that's normal. I expect, Les Paul weight out of a guitar this big. I put this guitar up next to my Fender Jazz Bass. It is only a couple of inches shorter than the Fender Jazz Bass. It is a long guitar. And because of the way it sits, when it's on my knee, the bridge comes right about here. When I play my Les Paul, the bridge is over here. It seems like a minor thing, but it ends up being a pretty major thing when you're playing. So, something to keep in mind. And last thing before I start playing some sounds for y'all, and I give you overall, which I think you've already gotten an overall idea of what I think of this guitar. One of the last things is this guitar at $599 does not come with a case. Does not come with a gig bag. It comes guitar. So you got to find a case. You got to find a bag for it if you plan on toting it around. It's a big guitar. You got to get the case designed for it. I ended up buying, I had to wait for them to come into stock, but I ended up buying the Epiphone Firebird 7 case from Sweetwater. No affiliation. I have no affiliation with Epiphone either. I bought this guitar with my own money. I ended up buying that case. It fits perfectly. It's snug. It doesn't move. I have no doubt it's going to protect the guitar for when I go gigging with it. I'm thinking about taking it out on a couple of gigs I've got coming up in a few weeks. Give it a actual run through in a show environment. We'll see. But yeah, so let's listen to it a little bit, and we'll see what we think of it. I'm going to turn off all this stuff because I don't want to start with ambient sounds. That might get a little crazy. I am running it through a Helix HX Effects with a Strymon Volante in the loop. I've got the Night Sky on the output, and that's going into my deluxe reverb behind me into a Captor X. So you're listening to it direct there with a Fender 1x12 cab in the 2-note software. All right, so completely clean. Let's get a listen to these pickups. That's neck. Let's go in between pickup setting. And lastly, bridge. All right, we're going to get a little gain on it. I'm going to get just a little bit of the retro reel out of the HX Dot, which is a tape modulation. It's not a delay, it's just a little bit of modulation. I have it on super light because I just like just a little bit of movement. And then I've got the Helix's variation of a tube screamer. Pulled a little out of tune just hitting it hard because I play hard. It takes a little more finesse than I thought. I think that has to do with just the lighter strings I put on it. So yeah, let's little bit of modulation with a harmonic trim. God, that was sloppy, but that's okay. You get the idea. It is, when I'm playing low, like E stuff, and it's in my lap. It's different when I'm wearing it with a strap, but when I'm playing it in my lap, that E stuff's really way out here. It's takes some adjusting for the hand to get used to this style of guitar, because it sits differently when you're sitting down. If I were standing up, it wouldn't be such a big deal. It wouldn't feel as foreign, but it does feel pretty foreign. So I think it handles gain really well. I'm not going to do it with fuzz this time around. I do have a fuzz that I want to try it with, maybe in another demo. But it handles fuzz really well, as you'd expect a bright guitar to handle. The humbuckers do push a little more gain out of a fuzz, and they don't clean up as well. But so I'm gonna turn. There we go. So a little bit of delay and reverb. I know I said a little bit. I was lying. It's a lot of delay and reverb. Maybe just a little too much ambience. anyway, so that is the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson Firebird. I'm really impressed with this guitar. I think it plays great. I think it's got a unique sound. It does take some getting used to, though, especially if you're a sit-down player. When you've got a strap on and it's hung around you, you can sort of manipulate a little better. But when it's sitting in your lap, it does tend to go to the left, make it harder to play if you're not used to that. And I'm not used to that, so it's really throwing me off. I'm having to work pretty hard. But otherwise, I think for $5.99, I don't think there are many guitars out there that are going to beat anything like this for $5.99. Now you throw in another $100 for a case, another $130 for a case, then you're talking a $730 guitar. You're starting to creep up there a little bit. There might be some things out there, but I think if you want something unique that not everyone has, and you're good with Epiphone, and with these new Epiphones, you really should be okay with Epiphone on the headstock. I have Gibson guitars. I think this thing plays every bit as good and is a great guitar. I might think about changing the electronics out later. Right now, they're fine. I don't think they're bad. They're not that Firebird sound, but they are a unique sound. So I'm going to stick with them a little bit, see how they do in a gig setting, and see if I ultimately just think I'd be happier with another one. So what do you think? You tell me down in the comments below. Tell me, do you have one of these new Epiphones? Have you tried one of them? Any of them? The Firebird, the Explorer. They've got a 335 now. They've got some great Inspired by Gibson guitars out there. What do you think of them? Did you buy one? Do you think they're trash? Do you think they're amazing? Do you think they're good for the value? I think they're great for the money, but you're welcome to tell me I'm wrong. It's very possible. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when I make more videos. I'm going to be making more soon. Hopefully, I'm going to get a couple a week in the next couple of weeks to get kind of caught up where I wanted to be. Go check out the podcast, 40 Watt Podcast. You can find it here on YouTube, or you can find it whatever audio platform you prefer to get your podcasts. Make sure you go find our Facebook page, and you can like and join our group. You can find me on Instagram. We have a Patreon page. We again. I keep saying we. It's me. You can find me on Patreon. Would love to have you support the podcast and the content here on YouTube for as little as $3 a month, or as much as you want to give. Also have a Teespring store with some merchandise. Also have a Reverb affiliate link that I'm going to put in the description of the video below. If you go click on that link and you go to Reverb, anything you buy, a little bit of that kicks back to me at no cost to you, and it really, really helps keep the show rolling around here, paying platform fees and equipment costs and other things like that I'm paying out of pocket, because I like doing this kind of stuff, but I'd love to break even at least. So hope you'll support the show, hope you'll follow, hope you'll leave a review on any podcast service, comment below, and I will see you next time.